On this show, we follow the money, and when VSiN decided to launch our own store, the smart money was on Shopify. Getting the VSiN store off the ground was easier than we expected, and Shopify's templates and AI tools had us look incredible and professional from day one. Zero coding required. Shopify checkout keeps sales moving smoothly, and returning customers can complete a purchase in one click. Built-in analytics, you always know what's selling and where your customers are coming from and how to keep the momentum going. When questions come up, and they will, Shopify's AI assistant Sidekick is there with answers so you never lose momentum. You can check out the store at vsin.com/store. And if you're ready to build your own, all you need is the idea. Shopify handles the rest. Start your free trial at shopify.com/vsin. Shopify.com/vsin. Again, that's shopify.com/vsin.
You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Dustin Sweetelson. It is the Summer of Swede continuing here on this program this week. We're live in Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino, loaded for the next 3 hours. Tons of great guests, including Sean Green from the Sports Gambling Podcast in 30 minutes, a ton of his NFL futures that he likes. Ralph Russo, college football in an hour. Ed Salmons. Somebody told me last week one of the top 2 or 3 odds makers ever in the history of Las Vegas. How sharp this guy is. And he's recently retired. He's joining the show coming up in 90 minutes. And Adam Rittenberg on the show, more college football with him from ESPN a little bit later on. We'll begin a little Major League Baseball. Look, August is now this weekend.
Yeah.
This is a daily grind with baseball. It can be a super fun sport to bet, but and the World Cup is now obviously in the rear view. Soccer beats, it's like a shovel upside the head. I still contest that baseball beats are worse than any other sport. That's maybe neither here nor there, but you just had to put up with this stuff every single day, and you got to kind of just the more you do this, Dustin, you got to let it just roll off the shoulder it doesn't affect me anymore.
Oh, no, it affects me. I'm getting absolutely decimated right now. And I think that what you brought up about the beats is the issue. It's that I have so much of a larger sample size and so much data, and everything that points me in the direction of backing a bet, it goes up in flames quickly. Like Zach Wheeler yesterday, dude been cruising. Miami could have been playing worse. And I know a lot of people who've been handicapping a long time go, well, you're either betting into streaks or against streaks. What led you to believe with Miami that the offense was going to show up in that spot?
Or all of a sudden you had the velo drop from Wheeler.
Yeah.
And the staff is completely, concerned about it. Like, we better get him out of the game now because we don't know what's happening. And is this going to be a long-term injury potentially that we're watching right now on the mound tonight? So the K props that you liked, they stayed under because he got rocked immediately in that game.
Oh, yeah. The ladder died he still had 6 strikeouts.
I know. And that's the thing. With probably his D material, I would say last night, C- maybe in that neighborhood because of a potential injury. And then, of course, how that game was a roller coaster. And it's like the Phillies run line. I documented on the program yesterday, Marlins had lost, in that 12-game losing streak, 8 straight games on the run line. So they lost by 2 runs or more in 10 out of 11. It's 7-5. They go to the pen. They bring in the closer who's been really good again this year, and he just doesn't have it himself, and they lose the game outright. Incredible.
It's crazy. For Duran to blow that game with them finding a way to get a win, which, by the way, for Philly, this is a team a few weeks ago when I was filling in for Gil, I went all in on. I was like, I think this is the team that can take down the Dodgers in the National League. Because to me, if you're handicapping it, it's how can you beat the Dodgers? Because it's either you're going to see them in the NLCS or you're going to see them in the World Series if you're in the American League. And when Wheeler was cruising for the last few starts, I was like, you know what? He's back to his old form. It's Sanchez. It's Wheeler. Luzardo's been great. Who knows what Dombrowski adds to the rotation? I don't know what to do with them going forward because that's a sign of a team not having that killer instinct to put teams away. And that also coincides with while you were on vacation, JT Realmuto ran them out of a game at the end of a comeback against the Dodgers where it just showed the losing ways of this team in critical spots.
I definitely missed that game when I was on vacation.
Oh, they had a big chance against the Dodgers.
So, and I had what I would consider an excruciating loser as well last night. But with me, I used to be in your same boat. Like, it's going to affect me potentially for days, some of these bad beats. It impacts me during the game when it's happening. But then when it's over with, I'm like, I just got to move on because you're betting this stuff so often. And, it's a 6-month sport during the regular season. You're going to have so many bets. But my bet was on the Nationals team total over 2.5. And they had 100 guys on the first 5 innings.
I don't know how that doesn't happen.
So if that game is played 10,000 times, right, and Scherzer's on the mound every single time, I'm betting it 10,000 times.
Oh, you're right.
And I'm willing to tell you that I'm probably going to walk away a winner over those 10,000 bets that I make. But in a one-game standoff like last night, it happened to be a loser, although they had their chances like in every single inning.
I'd probably feel better about my situation had I hadn't had the first 5 under in the Reds and Guardians this morning.
Oh, yeah, well.
And it was 5-5 through 5, so you don't need to check the score, see if the bet cashed. It did not indeed on the under 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was with Chase Burns, by the way, who was the best first 5 pitcher in Major League Baseball going into today. 1 loss on the entire year in the first 5.
My fear was Ciccone on the other side. I thought Slade Ciccone was going to mess things up. No, it was the other side. A Manzardo grand slam ends up giving them 4 and then come back the other way. But you know what? In retrospect, probably should have just stayed away because their routines were disrupted yesterday.
A little bit.
They thought they were pitching a day ago. It was then a day game today. You never know how these guys are going to get up for it offensively. That was my thought. Sometimes the offense can be a little bit sluggish knowing there's 2 days, but nope, 2 games in 1 day. Nope, it was definitely a lot of offense in that game. It's 5-5 in the 8th, by the way.
So for a long time, going back, I don't think it's really much of a thing anymore in the second game of a doubleheader. You would want to bet on the team that lost game 1 earlier in the day.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of come back to the pack a little bit. I don't know. I'm throwing this out there. I wonder what it's like in game 2 when the first game has a ton of runs. Ooh. Does it completely come back to the pack and you get like a 2-1 game later on tonight? Or I'll switch it. Like if this game, it's 6-5 right now because there's a run across in the top of this inning that we're talking about. If this game was 1-0 and Burns was electric today, does that have any impact on game number 2? Do the bats waking up a little bit, or is it all dependent on who's going to be on the mound that night?
Yeah, I think it's dependent. Gavin Williams starting on one side for Cleveland. We don't know on the other end for Cincinnati in this spot. I'm already on Gavin Williams over 7.5 Ks at -132. The thought process there is, one, he's been cruising lately with the strikeouts. But more importantly, I just had a weird feeling with Ciccone that they would have to use a bunch of bullpen arms. So you don't know how many guys are going to be available. He may have to, even if he doesn't have his best stuff, stay out there a little bit longer. Thus far, after Ciccone went 3 2/3, they've used 3 relievers since. They really haven't to dig into a ton of guys, but you just never know how the bullpen's going to go the rest of the way in a doubleheader. So I already liked Gavin Williams over Case.
I like where your head's at there, thinking with the bullpen, getting ahead of it.
Well, I think we've reached a juncture of the season where so much of the handicap is the bullpen and the usage.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up. Today, Bill Adie put it in the VSiN Daily, and it's another reason to become a VSiN Pro subscriber. Go to vsin.com/subscribe today. So Steve Makinen now, for several years here at the network, he has been sharing his bullpen betting systems. And every single year, people are responding like, I've been tracking this now the entire season. I'm up so many units. Bill today included a story about a guy who tinkered with it a little bit. His name is Doug F., and he is on a run right now that is 92-64, simply using Makinen's bullpen betting system. Wow. And it's the ROI is awesome. The units that he's up, I think it's like 26 or something like that in that neighborhood. Very good.
I love that. My biggest problem is I'll have systems like this that I'll lean onto, and you got to go all in, right?
You got to do it the entire year.
You got to be consistent with it because it's going to crush you the days you don't do it and it hits, and then the days you do it and it doesn't. The consistency alone to just day after day fire in the same way, that is impressive to me. I love to see that.
So with that in mind, ESPN today had some potential blockbusters that they would like to see. A bunch of their, quote, experts chimed in on this. And, you know, the one common name that you've heard potentially going to Milwaukee would be Tarik Skubal, and I would love to see it because I want to see the Miz and Skubal go back-to-back, specifically against the Dodgers in the playoffs. And that was written about, right, what the kind of what they would have to give up to get Skubal. In fact, that was the #1 trade they wrote about. But if you go down just a little bit, talking about bullpens, Mason Miller has been a guy commonly thrown out there for the Yankees to potentially acquire. They wrote about him going to the Brewers. Mason Miller to the Brewers.
What's crazy about that is you go, hold on, that's not a weakness, but you just make a strength, an even bigger strength. So you essentially would do what San Diego thought they were doing a few years ago. Yeah. You're going to make it a 6-inning game.
That's exactly the thought behind it.
Maybe a 5-inning game if you have to, because if you throw in Ashby from the left side, Uribe, McGill, Mason Miller.
Yeah.
I mean, the game, we talk about betting first fives. The game's over in the first 5.
It's kind of like when the Royals won the World Series.
Good call.
That was a true 5 or 6 inning game. That's all they asked their starters to do. That bullpen was legendary that year with how good they were. I think Wade Davis was maybe the closer, but they had a ton of setup guys that were incredible, and they just pitched lights out the entire time. So that is one philosophy here that I think could absolutely still work.
I'm intrigued by that more than Skubal, I think, because I think Skubal's going to cost you Logan Henderson.
How about both?
Well, that'd be quite a Milwaukee move to do that right before we maybe get a salary cap to actually go all in. I saw Passan's article, and the part that he wrote about acquiring Skubal, we've been giving up Logan. I love Logan Henderson.
I don't want to give him up.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, as someone who's bet way too much Rookie of the Year on him this year, I really believe in Logan Henderson, and I'd rather just hang on him than a rental. But Mason Miller, the way a playoff game is managed is so different than a regular season. And on top of that, you're then going to take another starter out of the rotation and put him in the bullpen.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just making this game so much shorter if you can get a lead.
Well, so, and by the way, you're going to hear from Jim Duquette, who is on VSiN by the Books coming up in this hour, former MLB GM, talking about whether or not he thinks the Yankees are going to be aggressive as well. It feels like where there's smoke, there is some fire. Now, the Brewers made that move for McCullers, but they already sent him down.
Yeah.
It feels like all of these reports around Milwaukee, either Skubal and now they're bringing up Mason Miller, I think they have to realize that this potentially is the year because they're right behind the Dodgers now for the most wins in baseball yet again this season, and they have this this season that we're getting, and maybe this isn't the best year we're ever going to get from the Miz. It's only his second year, for God's sake, so who knows? But you need to strike while the fire is going here.
Well, it's also a rare year for them when the offense is actually carrying its weight for once.
Yeah.
Normally we're going, all right, low-scoring game. Milwaukee's going to find a way to win it with the rotation because they had Peralta. By the way, they might trade for Peralta again.
How about that?
Pennies on the dollar?
Yeah.
That would be the boldest move and like the biggest David Stern should be fired situation to trade Peralta back and not being able to get this isn't draft day. You're not going to get your prospects back. Pancake eater.
By the way, I was always like a stan for Peralta. And I would just burn money on him every single year. That's the last move I want to see him make.
No, well, here's the irony. They just beat him around last week. But at the same time, wouldn't they be the ones to know how to unlock him again?
Maybe, because they've been so good with the pitching staff. And if it's pennies on the dollar, then there you go.
That's what I'm saying. You don't even have to give up the prospects you got from the Mets.
Yep. Big Ten Media Day started today. I'm pretty sure I'm like the Lone Ranger here at the network, riding this team in the VSiN College Football Betting Guide. I'll explain next here on VSiN.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. With VSiN Pro, you get access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets. On this show, we follow the money, and when VSiN decided to launch our own store, the smart money was on Shopify. Getting the VSiN store off the ground was easier than we expected, and Shopify's templates and AI tools had us look incredible and professional from day one, zero coding required. Shopify checkout keeps sales moving smoothly, and returning customers can complete a purchase in one click. Built-in analytics, you always know what's selling and where your customers are coming from and how to keep the momentum going. When questions come up, and they will, Shopify's AI assistant Sidekick is there with answers so you never lose momentum. You can check out the store at vsin.com/store. And if you're ready to build your own, all you need is the idea. Shopify handles the rest. Start your free trial at shopify.com/vsin, shopify.com/vsin. Again, that's shopify.com/vsin.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome in here on a Tuesday. Mitch Moss along with Dustin Sweetelson. We are live downtown Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. And every Friday night, again this year, the Sports Gambling Podcast with the fellas, Sean Green, Ryan Kramer and company, will be broadcasting right from the same exact studio. And they do a great job, by the way. They're based in California, in the LA area. They do it multiple times every single week. Again, the Sports Gambling Podcast. And Sean, hops on the Progressive guest line right now to talk some NFL futures. Congrats, man. Good to have you back on the network on Friday nights during the football season.
Let's go.
Yes, love being on this side of the Progressive guest line, and love being a part of VSiN. So excited to be running it back for another season. And I was joking with you guys behind the scenes that, you know, this is the annual tradition of switching my Southwest companion pass from my wife to my partner Kramer. And I always tell, I'm like, business partner, not that there's anything wrong with that.
No judgment.
It's always a funny conversation with the Southwest folks. So excited to be back. Obviously Circa's great. And love being on the VSiN airwaves.
Very cool. Love having you on here as well. Let's begin with the team in the National Football League. Because I'm open to this idea. Dustin during the break poo-pooed it, and you're like, you're an idiot. That's not going to happen. What are you talking about? You're attacking one of the true, what we think will be a bottom feeder this year, one of the bottom feeders in the league, with the Miami Dolphins, but with a positive outcome on that end of the betting spectrum here. What do you want to do with Miami this season?
Yeah, give me the Miami Dolphins over 4.5 wins. I understand the concern. I understand the idea of, oh, hey, they have a bunch of dead cap that's going to hurt their ceiling. But and there's people, Dustin was one of them in the break saying, oh, they're tanking. I don't think you bring in Malik Willis if you're trying to tank. There are perfectly good tanking quarterbacks available on the market. Jacoby Brissett, Geno Smith. Those are the type of guys, in my mind, you bring in if you're truly setting up for a rookie quarterback. And I just look at this Dolphins rush attack, which I think could be amazing. You look at Devon Achane with Malik Willis. Again, small sample size with Malik Willis, but I love what I saw of him. And then, you know, his EPA per play was through the roof. And we've seen what mobile quarterbacks can do to elevate running backs. So I think there's a real chance this running game is going to be awesome. And if the running game's awesome with Achane and with the mobile Willis, that creates some easy play action stuff in the passing game. And we've seen this before. We've seen bad teams get elevated by mobile quarterbacks like Malik Willis, and Malik Willis isn't going to be tanking. He doesn't want someone to come in and take his job. I think he's going to take advantage of this opportunity. And in small stretches, we saw him do it there for the Green Bay Packers. You're bringing over a lot of continuity with the Green Bay system there. I think Hafley might have this defense playing better than their talent. I love the draft pick of Jacob Rodriguez. I think he's an interesting sprinkle, defensive rookie of the year there. And I just don't think they're bottom of the NFL. And yeah, their schedule by win total, if you look at Warren Sharp, is kind of tough, but that's because they play in the AFC East. And I would kind of push back because they've given, even in down years, this Dolphins team at home has given the Bills problems, has given the Patriots problems, and they certainly can get some wins against the Jets. So I just don't think they're quite as bad as everyone says. So I like the over 4.5 here.
I respect your argument, counselor. I look forward to being wrong because anytime I mock anyone on this at Network for a pick, which, by the way, I make some crazy picks, so you think I'd get mocked a little bit more. Like Matt Humans last year, I said, the Broncos aren't winning the AFC West. Great call by me. All right, let's talk about the NFC South, because I think the drama in Tampa Bay might lead to this thing being pretty open, despite them being a 164 favorite. Saints plus 265. You think they have a chance to not just go over their win total, but actually win the South?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I was a big Tyler Shuck guy. I think a couple people on the network as well were sweating out some Tyler Shuck offensive rookie of the year at 200 to 1. But, maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment, but he came in and I thought he looked really well, and he should. He's played a lot of football. He's pretty experienced. We've seen these guys with a bunch of experience in college come in and hit the ground running. I think Brandon Staley on the defensive side, you look at their DVOA for the year, that Saints defense kind of underrated. Once they got rid of Rattler there and had competent quarterback play with Shuck, the defense played really well. I think on the offensive side, Kellen Moore, I think, is a good head coach. I'd love to see him here in year 2, and I think they have a ton of potential. And I just look at the rest of the teams in the NFC South, tons of questions in my mind. The Panthers have already gotten whacked pretty bad here with the injury bug. And then on the same thing with the Tampa Bay Bucks, Vita Vea asking for a trade. If the Bucks get rid of Vita Vea, and it's annoying because we literally just taped our Tampa Bay Bucks team preview over on Sports Gambling Podcast before the news broke, but he is a huge swing in that defense. So if they lose him, that's a big question mark. Either way, I think they're going to be in the mix there for the NFC South. You can also take, if you're a little concerned about the division at plus 265, I do like the over 8.5 wins at plus 150. That's a little safer way to approach it. Cause I would be surprised if we get another 8-9 division winner here. It is the NFC South, but I do think the Saints are going to get it done here. And at plus 265, I think it's a pretty good price.
On the same page, I already have those two bets in pocket as well. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Sean Green, Sports Gambling Podcast. Get it wherever you listen to your pods, and also going to be Friday nights here at 10 o'clock Eastern time during the football season on VSiN. You're a big-time Eagles fan. You've had a lot of success in recent years. Do they have one more really legitimate run in them this year?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And, I mean, again, I'm always going to be in on the Eagles. I'm biased. Get that warning out of the way. But I think this Eagles team is kind of being slept on. One, just look at that defense. They got the contract done. Breaking news with Jalen Carter. That defense is good to go. I think this defense might be the best defense in the league, even without my Homer glasses on. Look at that cornerback room of, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, Tariq Woolen, on top of what they should be doing with the pass rush. Very, very good defense with Vic Fangio. And then on the other side, offensively, you get Jalen Hurts, who doesn't turn the ball over, keeps you in games. You have Saquon Barkley coming off a year where it was kind of a down year. A lot of that was the offensive line injuries. They were coming off that Super Bowl year, played a bunch of games. Barkley had a bunch of snaps. Now they're coming in well-rested, healthy. I think that offensive line's going to be good. I love what I'm hearing about the Sean Mannion offense, and I think it's going to be a massive year for Devontae Smith, and I think the offense is going to do a really good job. And you just look at as much as people want to clown Jalen Hurts and clown Nick Sirianni, I think if you just put a blind resume on what they've done in their 5 years together as Hurts' starting quarterback, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl win, 5 years, they went to the playoffs all 5 times, and they've gone over 10.5 wins 4 out of the last 5 years here. So I understand the skepticism. Hey, no AJ Brown, but I think the offense is going to cook, and really the optimism. Just this defense should be dynamic once again.
Yeah, as Sirianni's got like this meathead Socrates thing about him. Like he's got a philosopher's attitude, but he just delivers it in a very dumb way.
He's annoying. I get it.
No,
he's annoying.
Sean, if you look at the track record, he's really good at dealing with a bad season. He bounces back. He doesn't let them compound. 9-8 to 14-3 won the NFC. 11-6, then 14-3 won the Super Bowl. Just went 11-6. If he builds on 11-6, like what are we talking about here? All right, your next play I love because Fernando Mendoza's blocked to start right away. Kirk Cousins is going to get plenty of opportunity to see if he can take the Raiders to a few early wins on the season. You can't bet Mendoza plus 425 offensive rookie of the year. How do you want to attack the number 1 pick in the futures market?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting that they listed his some of his props here, the passing yards. I'll happily take the under here on Fernando Mendoza passing yards at 23.99 and a half. The only rookie who went over last year was Cam Ward. He started all 17 games. So even a guy like Tyler Shuck, who came in and played a bunch of games, averaged almost was like 217 and a half. He didn't get over this number. So there's just so many ways Mendoza doesn't get to this number of 2,400 passing yards. And it's interesting that places are hanging a passing yards prop with the idea that he's not starting week 1. I'll break that news. Kirk Cousins is starting week 1. And how long does Kirk Cousins stay in there? I think it is one of those things. At some point, they will want to see what they have in Mendoza. Now, how many games is it? If it's 8 games, you really have your work cut out for it. If it's 10 games even, you're averaging 240 yards per game. And then on top of that, you come into a Raiders offense, which, they got Brock Bowers. What other pass catchers are you really excited about? Do we feel good about the offensive line pass protection for the Raiders? I don't feel great about that. If they do have success, the Raiders, it's probably through Genty on the ground. I just think there's so many ways Mendoza doesn't get 2,400 passing yards. So easy fade for me. And yeah, I don't like him offensive rookie of the year as well, because again, how many games is he going to start?
Right. By the way, if you're running the math on this, right? Even if he gets 12, can he get 12 games? Like Cousins obviously has to get hurt right away, I would think, right? Even if he plays 12 games, he's got to average 200 yards per game passing. And that's, I think, trying to be like the most positive I possibly can be with a guy like this. I don't, what's the path here for him to go over?
And halfway through the season, Niners defense, Seahawks defense, at the Broncos versus the Broncos. A lot of tough defenses for him to put up big numbers.
I know. All right, let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. That, by the way, you're right, Sean. That is posted right now at a cursory look here at
I think we have to
multiple
do
books.
that.
Multiple books have that available as we speak. We'll continue. Sean Green coming up next, Sports Gambling Podcast. He told me he has some spicy long shots with awards. We're talking triple-digit range. I can't wait to hear which players he likes for the upcoming season next here on the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome back, Mitch Moss, Dustin Sweetelson. We're live in Las Vegas. We go out to the Progressive Guest Line, longtime Las Vegas odds maker. And when I say recently retired odds maker, I guess I'm talking about today's his first day of retirement. Ed Salmons joins the program now. Congratulations, by the way, on an incredible run, and happy early retirement here, Ed.
Thanks, Mitch. I appreciate it.
So you're a big Philly guy.
Yes.
Did you have any idea, like any inkling whatsoever, maybe connections back there, a feel for the organization, following this team for as long as you have, about the possibility of the 76ers landing LeBron James?
No. I mean, beforehand, absolutely not. I would look at the future markets, and the longer it went, the lower his odds to Philly went. So, I never really thought he would consider them. And then as time went by, I definitely thought there was no chance.
Well, how do you think they all fit together? And do you think it warrants them being the second shot in the Eastern Conference behind the Knicks? Right now, Philadelphia around plus 350 to win the East, where that whole conference has gone through a lot of changes this offseason.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, this time last year, the thought out there was the Eastern Conference is the terrible conference and the West is a strong conference. And as we went through the year, the East wound up winning the championship in the Knicks. So I think they definitely got some believers on their side. And this offseason, there's so many teams in the East have gotten better. And it's really deep this year. You could, obviously 1 and 2 with Oak City and San Antonio. But after that, you can make the case that there's a lot of teams in the East that, would be power ranked next.
How do you think they're going to approach the regular season? The Sixers, that is, obviously. You think they go for it? Do they try to be the 1 seed? Is there a bet to be made, I guess, like maybe with a win total over on this team or maybe to win the entire thing?
I think so, Mitch. I mean, the thing they've had the last few years, and it started when they signed Paul George, is the last preseason game they played, he got hurt in that game. And that's the year Embiid had played in the Olympics, and he wasn't even practicing. So he never started the year. He missed the first month, and then Paul George was hurt to start. And then they basically reached a point where they had to figure out, all right, is it worth fighting to try to get in the play-in or just dump a year and take the draft pick, which they did, and they were lucky, and they got Edgecomb. And, he obviously, I thought for his rookie year was amazing, and I look for nothing but better things from him in the future. I mean, Maxey to me is a solid player that's very underrated. And, last year as the season went on, I think Embiid played in somewhere 39, 40 games, something like that. But he actually, his offensive game and even his defensive game, it really came back to about 2 years before. So he definitely showed some things. He obviously still, you don't want to play him 35 to 38 minutes, which they were forced to in the playoffs, and they came back against Boston. But, with this team they have now, I mean, they can certainly play him, a lot of games, 24 to 26 minutes. Just run him to start the game and the third quarter and call it a night. And I think they can really get him up to, say, maybe 50 or even 55 games this year.
I think that's spot on right there. The East has 7 teams, 10-1 or shorter to win the conference. The West only has 2 teams underneath that 10-1 mark. Denver is at 11-1. Minnesota's 13-1. But now we're stretching it out here. In your time bookmaking, because LeBron in Cleveland, LeBron in Miami made it difficult in the East to price everyone else. Do you ever remember the East having this many options compared to the West only having a few at the top?
No, never. I mean, it's weird that the NBA used to be such a chalk sport where you just bet the favorite, and usually they'd win every year.
Yeah.
That's how it was for years.
Yeah.
And now we've had a different champion. I'm not sure how many years in a row, but it's an amazing run that they're on.
Let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Ed Salmons, longtime Las Vegas odds maker. Today, first day of retirement overall. I saw you at your retirement party about 10 days or so ago. We were talking about some NFL win totals overall. And I remember you came on the air with us last year, and you had a bet on the Saints under 6.5, and you said basically it's impossible for this team to win 7 games. They almost got there, but they went under 6.5. At this point, obviously, with NFL more than a month away still, what is your favorite win total on the board right now, Ed?
Right now, it's the Lions over wins. That would definitely be my top play. I think the Lions, if you look at all the success New England had last year, obviously Vrabel coming in and changing the attitude and, adding some veterans. And it was a team that wasn't as bad as I believe they looked the year before. And the schedule definitely gave them a lot of wins early in the year where they were able to build confidence on that and, continue to win as the season went on. And it was such a bad division outside of Buffalo. And I think this year, Detroit has one of the easiest schedules I think I've ever seen. I think they don't like play an outside, like real road game in bad weather until maybe week 16 or 17 in Chicago. I mean, it's just like they play nothing but domes, Carolina, Miami, all the bad teams. They get them all. And I guess that's all because they lost that last game or the game on Christmas against Minnesota in that game where Brosmer, I think he threw for like 30 yards or something. One of the worst games I've ever seen. But that loss gave them the last place schedule. And I really like Dan Campbell. I think he's an awesome coach. And, they replaced their offensive coordinator last year when Ben Johnson left and took the Bears job. And the guy they hired was the wrong guy. And he basically took over the play calling halfway through the year. And it was definitely they were playing catch up the whole year like that.
I'm just curious, behind the counter, where information has changed, social media has changed, the world feels like it's more connected than ever. How have you seen kind of the trends of the way bettors get to the counter or get to the apps with betting on the NFL or college football, whether that's from a future standpoint or even a week in, week out standpoint once the season gets going, Ed?
I mean, the big thing as far as the sports book, kind of the new trend is everyone bets these money line parlays. So, college football, you'll see upsets here and there, not always the big teams, but you just get these weird games like Florida State, I think last year beat Alabama in the first game. A game like that is just huge for the sports book. And then you swing it over to the NFL and, everyone's parlaying money lines, all these teams that are favored from like 6.5 up to, as high as it is 14.5, whatever it is, they parlay them all on the money line. And we basically are going to need one of those underdogs to win outright, or you're going to lose a lot of money on those parlays because people are not afraid to put, 3, 4, 5 teams in there. And that's a lot of our decisions are based on, an underdog to win. And it's spotty how it goes. I think 2 years ago it was a really rough year until the end. Last year was a little bit better with some underdogs winning outright, but that's a big thing I've noticed.
Ed, is there something that you're most proud of during your illustrious run as a great odds maker here in Las Vegas?
Well, I would say the number one thing is, I've had so many people that I've worked with. I mean, Jay Kornegay and Kirk Brooks, I started under them, and Jay was incredible to work with through the years. And then all the guys that came with us, Jeff Sherman, Randy Bloom, Matt Metcalf, who went on to Circa and started Circa, Chris Bennett, who worked with us. So many just great people that I've worked with, and they've gone on. And, Matt and Randy, or Jeff and Randy are moving over to Circa now, and they'll be a big addition for Circa Sports. And, I'm mostly proud of all the guys I've worked with and what they've done afterwards.
Yeah. Well, you were sitting side by side with Sherman for decades.
Since the 90s.
Since the 90s, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to miss it big time, right?
Absolutely. Jeff's a great guy, got a great family man, and there's no one that knows more about betting and how to move lines and just understanding everything than Jeff. He's just awesome.
Do you have anything planned away from this racket before the football season starts, like a vacation or anything like that? Or are you just going to be still like involved on a daily basis?
Oh, I started digging into my college football stuff, so I'm started with that. And, we've got a place up in Utah. We'll visit there. And then I'm sure we'll plan some vacations once September hits.
Any truth to starting your college football stuff is what expedited the retirement? Because those of us doing it here, it takes a lot of time just to preview one team these days.
Oh, no doubt. I usually start in June, and this year I pushed it way back, so I'm lazy.
Thanks, Ed. Great to talk to you. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Mitch.
There you go. Ed Simmons. We can now say former Las Vegas odds maker. Today, his first day of retirement. I thought it was like 10 days. He's like, no, guys, today's my first day, actually.
So he hasn't really lived retirement yet because he still had to do this today.
Still had to do it.
It's still
There's
worked.
no way he could have said, no, guys, I'm retired. I need at least one day off. Maybe tomorrow. How does that sound?
Look, he's got a long life to live post-retirement. You gave him a purpose for at least one day.
So at his, I'm not going to name names here, but at his retirement party, a very sharp bettor himself and a very well-respected person in this racket told me that every time he wanted to make a big bet, he would pick up the phone and run it by Ed first.
Interesting.
How about that? How about that?
So you're going to do that now?
Yeah, he's gonna block my phone number. There's no question about that. Future legs to consider with the football season looming and your pizza bets that could pay off handsomely with cross-sport parlays next year on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
It's Big Ten week in college football. Their media days are going on the entire time. And right now, more on that as we go out to the Progressive Guest Line. Adam Rittenberg does a great job covering the conference and college football for ESPN, and he joins us on the Progressive Guest Line. Hey, Adam, thanks for the time today. We appreciate it. How are you?
Hey, doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
You've had a chance to talk to a lot of the coaches, 6 teams, I think, overall today, center stage for this conference. One of those that you talked to, Lincoln Riley, there's like growing steam, has been now on this team buying into the recruiting class, the offense overall, how good they could be this year. Are you in that same boat as others?
I am. I'll qualify that in noting that their schedule, like others around the Big Ten, is incredibly difficult. They have Ohio State coming into the Coliseum, Oregon, Washington. They have to go to both Indiana, the national champion, and Penn State. But this will be Lincoln Riley's most complete team. He's made that loud and clear throughout the offseason, including in our conversation today, and I believe him. He's been working towards this year. He often comes to these events and gets some criticism for saying what USC has been lacking and how they've been fighting an uphill battle. Those days are over. He said, we have what we need to compete from an administration standpoint. They're a facility that's new. They have a roster that's there. Jaden Mayava has tremendous respect as maybe the Big Ten's best quarterback, and that's a group that includes Dante Moore. So Lincoln should be able to get this team in a position to reach its first college football playoff. Now, whether they actually do it with all those tough games, we're going to find out. But this is, I think rightfully so, he's bullish on this team.
And I'm curious, just, your sentiment, knowing the league so well, knowing where we stand in today's landscape. 12 teams make the college football playoff. And when you look at the Big Ten, it's hard not to make a case for 4, 5, even 6 this year. How many ultimately do you see being true playoff teams in this league?
Well, I think it goes back to the question that started to surface about how comfortable the committee is going to be with 9-3 teams in the playoff. They've not done that yet, but I could see a number of candidates in the Big Ten and even in the SEC that if they go 9-3, they may still have a playoff-worthy resume. If you're looking at the Big Ten, you have to start with Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana. I think those are clearly the top 3 teams going into the season. But then Penn State has a very favorable schedule, even though it's a new coach and Matt Campbell. He brings over a lot of players, 24 transfers from Iowa State, including their quarterback, Rocco Becht, who is here today. You look at USC, you look at perhaps Michigan. Washington believes that they're a team that will take a step. Now, I don't know if all of them are going to make the playoff, but they think they're in that conversation, and we'll see if they can break through. But I think at minimum, the Big Ten should have 3 teams in the playoff. We can see if they get to 4 or 5.
Okay. Wisconsin also part of it today. But I tell you this, Adam, if we could go back in time and like somehow you would like bet on coaches being successful, I'd be poor because I would have put everything into Luke Fickell working at Wisconsin, and it's been the exact opposite. Does it finally click in year 4 with him at the helm with the Badgers?
Well, I will tell you this. Luke was very clear in talking with us today about why he believes that the leadership is finally in the right place on the team. There's way greater accountability. I think the roster is closer to where he needs it to be at certain positions, but it has been rough, right? Nowhere near what any of us thought. Because, again, they fired a very successful coach in Paul Chryst to try to get to the college football playoff. It was very clear. They were a 9-10 win team that couldn't break through. Luke Fickell was the guy that got Cincinnati to the playoff. He was the one to make it happen. It's gone the other direction. Now, saying that, they've had maybe worse luck on the quarterback front in the last few years from an injury standpoint than any team in the country. So they need Colton Joseph to stay healthy. I know they're confident in some of their younger quarterbacks, but he was the guy that was brought in from Old Dominion to really make this thing go. He's a dynamic dual threat guy, maybe not the biggest arm, but can do a lot of exciting things in that offense. They need him on the field from start to finish. And they also need to get through a pretty tough September schedule with the games against Notre Dame at Lambeau and Penn State on the road. After that, guys, it softens up quite a bit. There's no Oregon, there's no Ohio State, there's no Indiana. So Wisconsin can make some noise if they can get out of September in a decent spot.
Adam, where are you at with Penn State? And I guess maybe where would you be at with Iowa State last year and how they would have done in the Big Ten? Because that's kind of the handicap. Looking at this team, 39 transfers, 24 from Iowa State, joined Matt Campbell over there in Happy Valley. Rocco Becht, the most experienced starter in the nation. Win total for them is 8.5. Schedule is very advantageous for them. How do you think they do year 1 of Campbell?
Yeah, I think they'll do well. Again, in part because of that schedule, but also because of the experience that they're bringing in. I mean, we've seen it now that, really good coach bringing in a number of his best players can hit right away. And no better example, obviously, than Curt Cignetti at Indiana with the James Madison group. Now, I think Rocco's a really good quarterback. How he's going to fare against Big Ten competition week in and week out remains to be seen. But Penn State's another team that really has a favorable schedule overall. Have a couple of tricky ones. USC coming in, they go to Michigan, but they're not facing the heavyweights, those other playoff contenders. So that's a team that can get to 9 wins, can really get to 10 wins. I think if it's below that number, 8.5, then they'll be disappointed, and justifiably so. Let's face it, they fired James Franklin 10 months after making the CFP semifinal to pursue national championships. And maybe it's unfair to say that begins in year 1, but we're in an environment, guys, where those expectations for success right away are very much in place. And I think that's the case for Matt Campbell, and he realizes it in talking to him today.
Yeah. Adam Rittenberg, our guest, does a great job covering the Big Ten and college football for ESPN. Follow him on X at ESPN Rittenberg. Been at, day 1 of media days for the Big Ten all day today, and he's on the Progressive guest line. So the last 3 years, obviously, the title has been won by a Big Ten team, Michigan, Ohio State, and Indiana last year. Everybody, I'm right there. Look, I can't deny how talented Oregon is, as talented as probably any team in the entire country. Do you think this is their year to win the whole thing?
I think they're in that position, right? I mean, talk about a team that, and they're prideful on this. They haven't lost a starter to the transfer portal, under Dan Lanning, and they were able to keep pretty much everyone they wanted to from last year's team, from either going in the portal or going onto the NFL, and that includes their quarterback Dante Moore. You look at their defensive line, completely intact. Some offensive skill guys are coming back. They've got a really good young cornerback in Brandon Finney Jr. So not a lot of obvious weaknesses. Now, they are replacing both of their coordinators. They did go internal for both of those hires. But, yeah, it feels like an if not now, when season for Oregon, who has made the college football playoff and has adjusted well to the Big Ten. They won this conference just a year ago. The thing that's hard to get out of a lot of our minds is what's happened in the playoff and the fact that they've been pummeled by Ohio State and pummeled by Indiana to end their seasons the last 2 years. Obviously, that can't happen. They've got to compete better on that stage. But anything short of a playoff appearance and a deep playoff appearance will be looked at as a disappointment. And for all the great things that Dan Lanning has done, I think he's a terrific coach. There will be questions that will be asked if this type of roster with the retention they have can't break through and possibly give them their first national title.
What are your expectations for Michigan with Kyle Whittingham taking over? Their win total's 8.5, but the schedule makers didn't do them any favors. They get Penn State, they get Oregon, they get Ohio State, they get Indiana here. So tough sledding for the Wolverines, but how different will they look this season?
Yeah, and the Oklahoma game week 2, real tough test against a playoff team. So I think this will be a tough year, an adjustment year for Kyle and that program. And I'm a believer in him. I'm a believer in his style and his philosophy. I just don't know in this Big Ten with how strong the quarterback play is overall. I've got questions about a Michigan offense that has really done almost nothing from a passing standpoint the last 2 seasons. They'll be great running the ball. They'll be solid at the line of scrimmage. On defense, John Henry Daly's a big-time addition to that pass rush. But when I look at the rest of the league, they're going to be in a lot of those toss-up games. And to me, that leads to an 8-4, 9-3 type season.
Very good. Follow Adam on X again at ESPN Rittenberg. Thanks, Adam. Know that you're swamped today. We appreciate the time.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
There you go. Adam Rittenberg joined us on the Progressive Guest Line. I like how this now for every league is turned into the full week.
Oh, I love it.
And how they just separate it now by like 6 teams each because there are 68 teams in every single conference.
Well, here's my issue. I understand the Big Ten is now a brand. There's 18 teams. It's one thing we went to 12, we went to 6. We've got 8. We can call it the Big 18 now. Can we advance a little bit as a society?
It's never going to happen.
I know it's so we call it the Big Ten because it had 10 teams in it. By the way, you sent this over the weekend. The 30 for 30 that's dropping with Ohtani's interpreter and the investigation. Could that be why the Ohtani market is moving?
That's what I can't wait. It drops tonight.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to check this out. That's exactly the thought. That's the only thing, because I Googled his name, and I put an X, whatever, and it's like the only thing that popped up was the show that's debuting tonight on the 30 for 30.
Was he minus $7 yesterday or minus $4 yesterday?
Yes.
Somewhere in that range?
Yes. Now $1.30.
It's got someone had to get wind of him being implicated. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
I can't. I mean, there's nothing like there's no like other the knee. He blew out the knee. He's done for the year. There's nothing like that whatsoever. So we'll get to our best bets with in-pocket plays coming up next here on VSiN.